So from a young age, I was always interested in physics and about the natural things occurring near me. And I had a particular interest in automotive designs. So blending these two in, I felt that aerodynamics was the right thing to do. That is how I chose my profile here.
For me, it was quite straightforward because I did my bachelor in aerospace engineering, so I had the overall background on what aerospace engineering is about and what are the different fields I could go into in more details. I had previously did research in aerodynamics and I really enjoyed it.
So I did my bachelor's in aeronautical engineering, and when I was about to choose a master, aerospace engineering, I wanted to do something a bit different than what I did for my bachelor's. So what spoke to me most was the aerodynamics track, and I chose in the end the profile wind energy because I like that it's like an application of the aerodynamics course material, and I feel like that's nice because you have more like a practical approach.
I think it's exceeded my expectations in terms of the depth of understanding that it would give me from a very fundamental point of view. Yeah, and let's say the lab work or the experimental work hasn't been as much as I would have liked it to be, but I think that is something that I'm exploring with my thesis right now as well. And I think the pathways that this really opens up for me is what I'm really looking forward to.
It basically met my expectations, but it was also slightly different because I expected it to give me an equal amount of numerical perspectives as well as theoretical and experimental perspectives. But when I started doing the program, I realized it's heavily focused on numerics, which is something I'm not too interested in. I'm more of an experimentalist. And because of the lockdown, my experimental courses could not really be carried out in the same manner as before, so we weren't really in the lab. And that I feel like I missed out on some key components of the experimental aspects, but I'm quite happy with the theoretical, the range of theoretical concepts that were covered. And also the electives give me some choices to, some freedom to pursue more aspects of aerodynamics and also aerospace engineering.
So the profile of aerodynamics in general is quite fast paced, and the first 2 quarters we do not have a lot of choice in taking the electives. Rather we focus in the mandatory subjects, so we get used to it, and once we get used to that we have more options to select our electives according to what we like in the mandatory electives. And we should also start looking for internships right at the start of Q3, because at the end of Q4 is when usually people conduct their internship, and right after that people carry out their thesis. So this would be a nice way to go about the structure.
I think it's a very research-based profile because most of our assignments are like research projects where you were given a problem, you have to investigate it, and then in the end discuss the results and analyze the results in a report, which I really liked because I felt that it prepared me for going into a career in academia and doing more research.
This was one of the biggest challenges that I had, especially at the start of the year. There are so many interesting electives, and you simply don't have the time to choose all of them. So I looked for, I think, what is the most interesting to me that I could actually fit in my study plan. I also got a lot of help from seniors who had done these electives and could give advice on what would be the most helpful ones, what their study loads were like, and things like that.
For me, I first looked at in which quarter I have time for electives and how many electives, because that is the most important thing in my opinion when it comes to choosing an elective, because you won't enjoy a course you would otherwise enjoy if you don't have enough time to study it and if you feel rushed to do the exams.
So during selecting my electives, one of the first things that I faced was getting enough information about the elective. So I would advise my peers and the incoming students to ask their peers or the mentors or PhD students or the teachers about a little more information. And one more thing that I faced was not being able to choose between two electives which were happening at the same time. So in that case, I would say prefer the one which is more effective towards your thesis. I found my internship with the help of a professor. So I would advise everyone to contact professors because they might be having options already available.
Yeah, my internship was 5 months in total, and I found my internship on LinkedIn. It was the first internship I found that I was really drawn to it, so I accepted it. I think to really look into what do you want in your career and to think about what do you want in the future, because your internship should prepare you for that. And or maybe you want to try out something, and internship is a great way to try out something you have never done before. In my case, to work in the lab in physics, which proved very helpful and actually helped secure my next position.
Um, Luckily for me, the process was a lot easier than I've seen, certain friends struggling with. A friend of mine was working at the company that I'm currently working with, and she actually passed on my number to her supervisor because they were interested in taking on more thesis students. So yeah, it was as simple as me sending my CV to her supervisor, us setting up a coffee date, and then yeah, we just went from there.
I looked around, basically, like all my classmates, and I sent a lot of emails to professors asking to have a Zoom chat about what are the topics available in your lab. And yeah, in the end, I found my topic in another faculty, actually, in the mechanical engineering faculty, because I would prefer to work with water than air. And in mechanical engineering, they have the facility for what I want to do. And also the professor, I took one of my electives with this professor, and I really enjoyed his teaching style, and I have heard about him for a long time when I first started my research, because he was also top of the field. So I would like to learn from him and in his lab.